As a pediatric nurse, I'm used to handling all sorts of medical emergencies, but nothing could have prepared me for the night I met Ethan. It was a typical Friday evening when I received an urgent call from the prestigious Miller Clinic, requesting my immediate assistance at the home of one of their wealthiest patients, a young boy who had taken a turn for the worse. Grabbing my medical bag, rushed over to the upscale neighborhood and was ushered through the grand double doors of an opulent mansion. Frantic butler led me to a lavish bedroom, where the boy lay, his small frame struggling to breathe. Adrenaline surging, I quickly got to work, assessing the situation and administering the necessary treatment. Just as I was about to leave, the bedroom door opened, and in walked the most captivating man I had ever seen. He introduced himself as Ethan, the boy's father's business partner. My breath caught in my throat as our eyes met. There was an undeniable spark between us, a magnetism that was almost palpable. Ethan's presence was commanding, yet there was a certain gentleness in the way he carried himself. His features were chiseled, his eyes a mesmerizing shade of green that seemed to bore into my soul. I found myself stumbling over my words as he thanked me for my quick response and expert care. As I made my way home, my mind couldn't help but replay the chance encounter. Who was this mysterious Ethan, and why did he have such a profound effect on me? I knew I should maintain a professional distance, but something about him had ignited a spark of curiosity within me that I couldn't quite extinguish. Little did I know that this chance meeting would be the catalyst for a relationship that would turn my world upside down. The more time I spent in Ethan's company, the more I found myself drawn to him, captivated by his charm, his intelligence, and the way he made me feel. It was as if he had cast some sort of spell, and I was powerless to resist. Over the next few weeks, I found myself increasingly drawn into Ethan's captivating world. It was as if he had made it his personal mission to win me over, showering me with attention, flowers, and romantic gestures that slowly chipped away at my resolve. "That's a beautiful necklace," Ethan remarked one evening as we strolled through a local art gallery. "It complements your eyes perfectly." His gaze locked with mine, and I felt a familiar flutter in my chest. "Thank you," I replied, cursing the slight tremor in my voice. "You really didn't have to do this." Ethan moved closer, his hand gently brushing against mine. "I wanted to," he said, his voice low and sincere. "Seeing you smile is all the thanks I need." I couldn't help but return his smile, my heart racing at his proximity. Despite my best efforts to maintain emotional distance, I found myself falling deeper under Ethan's spell with every passing day. He was attentive, caring, and made me feel special in a way no one ever had. We would spend hours talking, sharing our dreams and aspirations, and I was captivated by the depth of his intellect and the breadth of his experiences. "You know, I've never met anyone quite like you, Emily," Ethan said one evening as we sat by the fireplace in his penthouse. "There's just something about you that draws me in, like a moth to a flame." I felt my cheeks flush at his words, and I struggled to find the right response. I don't know what to say," I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. Ethan reached out and gently traced the line of my jaw with his fingertips. "Then don't say anything," he murmured, his eyes alight with a spark that sent shivers down my spine. In that moment, I knew I was in over my head. My initial curiosity had transformed into genuine affection, and I found myself utterly captivated by this enigmatic man. But deep down, I couldn't shake the nagging feeling that there was more to Ethan than met the eye. As my relationship with Ethan continued to blossom, I found myself falling deeper under his spell. He was attentive, thoughtful, and made me feel cherished in a way I had never experienced before. But one evening, as I was leaving his penthouse, I stumbled upon a conversation that would shatter the illusion I had built around him. I had forgotten my purse in the living room and went back to retrieve it, but as I approached the door, I heard voices, Ethan's and another man's that I didn't recognize. Instinctively, I paused, my heart pounding in my chest. "This deal needs to be taken care of, Ethan," the stranger said, his tone laced with urgency. "The authorities are sniffing around, and we can't afford any more delays." "I'm aware of the situation," Ethan replied, his voice low and measured. "But we need to be careful. One wrong move, and it's all over." I felt my blood run cold as I listened, my mind racing to process the implications of their conversation. Shady business dealings. Authorities. What had I gotten myself into? Quietly slipped away, the forgotten purse forgotten as I made my way home, my thoughts consumed by what I had just overheard. The man I had grown to care for, the one who had swept me off my feet with his charm and attentiveness, had a side to him that was anything but the romantic facade he had presented. As I lay in bed that night, tossing and turning, I couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal. Had Ethan been manipulating me all along? Was our relationship built on a foundation of lies and deceit? The questions swirled in my mind, and I found myself questioning everything I thought I knew about him. The next day, I tried to go about my routine, but the weight of what I had discovered hung heavy on my heart. Couldn't focus, my mind constantly drifting back to that conversation and the implications it held. Who was the real Ethan, and what was he hiding? As the days passed, the initial spark of curiosity I had felt towards Ethan transformed into a growing sense of unease. The man I had fallen for had become a stranger, and I found myself questioning the very foundation of our relationship. The reality I had so carefully constructed was crumbling, and I was left grappling with the decision of whether to confront Ethan or continue down the path of blissful ignorance. The weight of the revelation I had stumbled upon continued to bear down on me, making it increasingly difficult to function. I found myself torn between two conflicting impulses: the part of me that desperately wanted to cling to the idealized version of Ethan I had come to love, and the other, more pragmatic side that demanded I confront the truth. One evening, as I sat alone in my apartment, I couldn't resist the urge to call Ethan. I needed answers, even if they threatened to shatter the fragile illusion I had built around our relationship. "Ethan, we need to talk," I said, my voice trembling slightly. "There's something I need to discuss with you." There was a brief pause on the other end of the line before he responded. "Of course, Emily. What is it?" Took a deep breath, steeling myself for the conversation ahead. "A few nights ago, I overheard you and another man talking about some kind of deal and the authorities being involved." I paused, my heart pounding in my chest. "Ethan, what's going on?" Another pause, this one longer and more weighted. "Emily, I'm not sure what you're implying, but I can assure you that everything is fine. My business dealings can be complex, but there's nothing untoward going on." His response did little to quell the growing unease within me. "Ethan, please," I pleaded. "I need you to be honest with me. What are you involved in?" "I'm telling you, there's nothing to worry about," Ethan insisted, his tone growing more defensive. "You're reading too much into something you don't fully understand." I felt frustration building inside me, mingling with the fear and uncertainty that had taken root. "Ethan, I'm not stupid. I know what I heard, and I can't just ignore it. Please just tell me the truth." The line went silent for several agonizing moments, and I could practically feel the tension crackling through the phone. Finally, Ethan let out a heavy sigh. "Emily, I'm sorry, but I can't discuss this with you. It's complicated, and the less you know, the better. His words hit me like a punch to the gut, and I felt the last vestiges of my illusions crumbling. "So, it's true then?" I whispered, my voice laced with a mixture of disbelief and betrayal. "You're involved in something illegal, aren't you?" Ethan paused again, and when he spoke, his tone was tinged with something akin to regret. "I never meant for you to get caught up in this, Emily. I care about you, more than you know. But this is my world, and it's not one I can easily escape." As the realization of the gravity of the situation sank in, I felt a wave of panic wash over me. What had I gotten myself into? And more importantly, how could I extricate myself from it without risking everything? The internal conflict raged on as I grappled with the decision of whether to continue down the path of blissful ignorance or to face the harsh reality that had been hidden from me all along. With each passing day, the weight of my doubts grew heavier, threatening to consume me. The weight of the secrets Ethan was keeping had become too much for me to bear. I knew I had to confront him, to demand the truth and put an end to the facade that had enveloped our relationship. Taking a deep breath, I made my way to Ethan's penthouse, my heart pounding with a mixture of fear and determination. When he opened the door, I could see the surprise in his eyes, quickly followed by a hint of unease. "Emily, this is a surprise," Ethan said, trying to maintain his composure. "What brings you here?" "Ethan, we need to talk," I said, my voice firm and unwavering. "I can't keep pretending that everything is fine when I know there's something you're not telling me." He ushered me inside, his brow furrowed with concern. "What are you talking about?" he asked, though I could detect a slight tremor in his voice. "Don't play dumb with me, Ethan," I replied, the frustration and fear I had been holding in finally bubbling to the surface. "I overheard you talking to someone about a deal and the authorities being involved. I want the truth, and I want it now." Ethan's expression shifted, and I could see the walls go up as he struggled to maintain his composure. "Emily, I don't know what you think you heard, but I can assure you that it's not what it seems." "That's not good enough, Ethan," I pressed, my voice rising in volume. "I'm not stupid, and I'm not going to just ignore what I know. Tell me the truth, right now." For a moment, Ethan was silent, his gaze darting around the room as if searching for a way out. Finally, he let out a heavy sigh and turned to face me, his expression resigned. "All right, you're right," he admitted, his voice low and tinged with a hint of shame. "I've been involved in some questionable business dealings. Nothing illegal, per se, but definitely not above board." I felt a cold chill run down my spine as the reality of the situation sank in. "What kind of dealings, Ethan?" I pressed, my voice barely above a whisper. "Look, it's complicated," he replied, running a hand through his hair. "I'm involved in some shady real estate transactions, okay? Deals that skirt the law, but nothing that could land me in prison." I shook my head, unable to believe what I was hearing. "Ethan, how could you keep this from me? I thought we had something real, something special, but now I see that it was all just a lie." "It wasn't a lie, Emily," Ethan insisted, his voice tinged with a hint of desperation. "I care about you, more than you know. But this is my world, and I couldn't risk you getting caught up in it." "Well, guess what, Ethan?" I spat, the betrayal and hurt I felt bubbling to the surface. "I'm already caught up in it, whether I wanted to be or not. And now I have to decide whether to play the role of the happy bride, ignoring the truth, or to risk everything and walk away." Ethan's eyes widened, and for a moment, he seemed at a loss for words. "Emily, please," he pleaded, reaching out to me. "I never meant to hurt you. I wanted to protect you." I stepped back, shaking my head. It's too late for that, Ethan. The damage is done, and I don't know if I can ever trust you again. With that, I turned and made my way to the door, my heart heavy with the realization that the man I had fallen for was not the person I thought he was. As I stepped out into the cool night air, I knew that I had reached a crossroads, one that would force me to confront the harsh reality of my situation and make a decision that would change the course of my life forever. As I walked away from Ethan's penthouse, my mind was in a whirlwind. The revelation of his shady business dealings had shattered the carefully crafted illusion I had built around our relationship, and I was left grappling with the weight of the decision I now faced. Could I really turn a blind eye to his questionable activities and continue down a path that would ultimately compromise my own values and ethics? Or did I have the strength to walk away, even if it meant losing the man I had grown to care for so deeply? The internal conflict raged on, and I found myself at a complete loss. On one hand, I knew that staying with Ethan would mean burying the truth and living a lie. But the thought of ending things, of severing the connection we had forged, was almost too much to bear. As I sat alone in my apartment, staring at the empty space around me, I couldn't help but feel a deep sense of loneliness. Ethan had become such an integral part of my life, and the prospect of losing him was overwhelming. But I knew, deep down, that I couldn't continue down this path, not if I wanted to maintain my own integrity and self-respect. Steeling my resolve, I reached for my phone and dialed Ethan's number. When he answered, his voice was laced with a mixture of hope and trepidation. "Emily," he said, his tone cautious. "I'm so glad you called. I've been worried sick about you." "Ethan, we need to talk," I replied, my voice steady despite the turmoil raging within me. "I've been doing a lot of thinking, and I've made a decision." There was a brief pause on the other end of the line, and I could almost feel the tension radiating through the phone. "What decision?" Ethan asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "I can't do this anymore, Ethan," I said, my heart breaking as the words left my lips. "Can't be with someone who is involved in the kind of business dealings you're a part of. It goes against everything I believe in." Ethan let out a heavy sigh, and I could hear the resignation in his voice. "I was afraid you'd say that," he murmured. "I never wanted to hurt you, Emily. You have to believe that." "I know, Ethan," I replied, fighting back the tears that threatened to spill down my cheeks. "But the truth is, I can't trust you anymore. And without trust, there's no foundation for a relationship." The line was silent for a long moment, and I could feel the weight of the decision I had made pressing down on me. "So, this is it, then," Ethan finally said, his voice laced with a hint of resignation. "I'm afraid so," I replied, my voice barely above a whisper. "I'm sorry, Ethan. I truly am." With that, I ended the call, my heart heavy with the realization that I had made the right choice, even if it was the most difficult one. As I sat there, staring at the silent phone in my hand, I knew that this was a turning point, a moment that would forever shape the course of my life. The days that followed my decision to end things with Ethan were some of the most difficult I had ever faced. The loss of him, the man I had grown to care for so deeply, left a gaping hole in my heart that I struggled to fill. As I tried to pick up the pieces of my shattered life, I found myself questioning everything: my values, my beliefs, and even my own judgment. How could I have been so blind to the truth? Had I made the right choice in walking away, or was I simply running from the possibility of something truly special? The internal turmoil was relentless, and there were many nights where I found myself curled up on my couch, tears streaming down my face as I wrestled with the weight of my decision. But as the days turned into weeks, and the weeks into months, I began to find solace in the knowledge that I had stayed true to myself. While the pain of Ethan's betrayal still lingered, I knew that I couldn't have continued down that path, not if I wanted to maintain my own integrity and self-respect. One day, as I was walking through the park near my apartment, I bumped into an old friend from nursing school. Her name was Sarah, and we had lost touch over the years. But as we reconnected, I found myself opening up to her about the turmoil I had been facing. "Wow, Emily, that's a lot to deal with," Sarah said, her eyes filled with empathy. "But you know, I'm really proud of you for standing up for what you believe in. It can't have been an easy decision, but it sounds like you did the right thing." Her words struck a chord within me, and I felt a glimmer of hope begin to take root. "You really think so?" I asked, my voice tinged with uncertainty. Sarah nodded, a warm smile spreading across her face. "Absolutely. Choosing your own values and integrity over the allure of a relationship like that takes a lot of courage. You should be proud of yourself." As we continued our conversation, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. Sarah's unwavering support and encouragement were exactly what I needed to start moving forward, to believe that I had made the right choice, even if it had come at a great personal cost. In the weeks and months that followed, I threw myself into my work, using it as a way to channel my energy and focus. And slowly, but surely, I began to heal, to rediscover the person I was before Ethan had swept me off my feet, and to reconnect with the values and beliefs that had always been at the core of who I am. It wasn't easy, and there were still moments where the pain of the loss threatened to overwhelm me. But with the support of friends like Sarah and a renewed sense of purpose, I found the strength to keep moving forward, to embrace the future and all the possibilities it held. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to our channel, give us a like, share our story. I'll see you soon with another captivating story.